Hello, my name is Alexandra.
And this is the Idea Buffet Podcast.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Good to be here.
So today we're tackling something a bit different, maybe a bit darker than usual.
Yeah, we're diving into some of these true horror stories you see online, specifically some accounts from the Mr. Nightmare YouTube channel.
Right, it's really popular stuff. And our mission here, it's not just about retelling spooky stories, is it?
No, definitely not. We want to really excavate these narratives, like what makes them genuinely unsettling, what deep, maybe universal fears do they actually tap into?
And what do they tell us about ourselves?
Yeah.
About vulnerability.
Exactly. Especially when things take that unexpected turn, when the mundane becomes terrifying.
And the core thing here, the reason these are so chilling, is that they're presented as real. These are first-person accounts from people who say they lived through this stuff.
That authenticity factor is huge. It takes it out of the realm of fiction and makes it feel immediate. Possible.
Like this could actually happen. These aren't campfire ghost stories with made-up monsters.
The monsters here are potentially, other people, which is often scarier.
Definitely.
Okay.
So if you're ready for that, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
All right, our first story is titled The Camping Nightmare, a Wilderness Invasion. So picture this. A camping trip in Colorado, Ural Forest.
Beautiful setting, supposedly serene.
Right. It's two cousins, Cody, who's 23, and the narrator, he's 22. And they specifically chose to go midweek.
Yeah, the narrator mentions that to avoid crowds, avoid traffic, they wanted solitude, peace and quiet. That's the setup.
That expectation of being alone, really alone in the wilderness.
And they were prepared. This wasn't just winging it. The narrator really highlights Cody as the Eagle Scout type.
Took charge, he knew what he was doing.
Totally. Drove deep in, parked, then hiked like 15 minutes further in. Found this clearing, perfect spot, they thought. Enough room for 2 tents, their stove, a campfire.
Sounds pretty standard, pretty good setup.
Yeah, Cody gets his tent up super fast. Narrator admits it takes him longer. They build the stone ring for the fire, gather wood, got the fire starter. It's all very competent.
Prepared, responsible.
Exactly. And as the sun's going down, Cody, who's apparently a good cook, is firing up steaks and burgers. It feels idyllic, comfortable. They even have bear spray.
Standard precaution, right,
Yeah.
for bears.
The expected danger. But then Cody says something. It's almost casual, but it just hangs there.
What does he say?
He says, and this is a direct quote, "The real thing you got to worry about in the middle of the woods is other people."
Wow. Okay, so he dismisses bears, calls them very unlikely.
Right, and shifts the focus entirely. It immediately sets this different kind of dread. It's not about nature's dangers anymore.
It's about human dangers
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. It reframes the whole idea of wilderness horror.
So the scene is set. They've eaten, sun's down, it's dark. What happens?
Well, they got a pretty good vibe going initially, Classic rock playing softly on a speaker, beers playing Uno.
Sounds like a good camping trip.
It does. The kind of disconnected, relaxed experience you go camping for. But then that peace just shatters.
Yeah.
They suddenly heard something out in the woods.
Okay, animal.
That's what you'd think, right? But the narrator pauses the music. And in that sudden silence, that total quiet, they hear it clearly.
Right.
A person humming and footsteps coming from beyond the trees in the pitch black.
Oh no. It's
Right.
not an animal sound.
Not at all. Distinctly human. And that humming, creepy. The psychological impact of hearing something like that when you can't see anything, it's intense.
Your mind just races.
Totally. Especially in the dark. Sound becomes everything. And Cody, the experienced one, he confirms it, says it's definitely unusual for someone to be that deep in the woods, let alone walking past, humming loudly near an active campfire.
It feels deliberate, like they wanted to be heard.
Right, like some kind of weird signal or just pure creepiness. And the narrator admits he was shaken, but he saw Cody was too, despite his experience.
That shared fear. Knowing the expert is also freaked out.
They tried to brush it off, went back to cards, but kept the music way down. The vibe was just gone. Tension.
I bet. And did it stop there?
Not even close.
Yeah.
Just moments later, trying to pretend things are okay. Something lands right in the middle of their campsite.
Lands. Like fell.
No! The narrator says, "A big stick landing in the middle of our campsite made us both jump out of our skin." And he's clear. It didn't fall from a tree. It was thrown at us by someone.
Okay, that changes everything. That's not just creepy presence, that's aggression.
Absolutely. It's a direct confrontation, a violation. Someone is actively messing with them, throwing things at them.
What do they do?
Cody, probably trying to sound tougher than he felt, yells something like, "Whoever's out there messing with us, get a life and off."
Did it work?
They heard footsteps moving away again, so maybe for a moment. But the narrator's freaked out. He says, "Let's pack up. Let's get out of here."
Makes sense to me.
Right. But Cody refuses. He says it's too dark to hike out safely. Better to stay put, keep the bear spray handy.
That's a tough call. Stay with the known human threat or risk getting lost or injured in the pitch black.
Exactly. A real rock in a hard place situation.
Yeah.
So they stay, but the sounds, they continue. They hear tree branches cracking in the distance.
Could that be an animal?
The narrator insists these were sounds you would never expect an animal to be making. Like someone deliberately breaking branches, not just walking through them.
So the feeling is someone's still out there, watching, making noise.
Yeah, the realization sinks in. Someone was out there, maybe multiple people, that much was clear. The humming, the stick, these weird sounds. It's not just one lost person, it feels coordinated, sinister.
Okay, so they're stuck there for the night. What's the plan?
They decide to take watches. One stays awake while the other sleeps. Cody takes the first watch, says he'll just read his book by the fire.
Brave man. Or maybe just putting on a brave face.
Probably a bit of both. The narrator crawls into his tent, zips up his sleeping bag, and somehow, despite the fear, he actually falls asleep. Until the middle of the night, he wakes up, doesn't know why, still groggy, you know, that sleep fog.
Yeah, totally disoriented.
And he looks up toward the mesh door of his tent, and he sees a head peering into my tent.
Oh my God, no.
Just a head in the dark. And his sleepy brain, it does that thing where it tries to make sense of the impossible.
Yeah.
He thinks it's Cody.
He thinks it's his cousin checking on him.
Yeah, he even rubs his eyes, tries to see the face, and mumbles something like, "Is it my turn?" Asking if it's his watch.
While staring at this stranger's head. That's horrifying.
It really is, the vulnerability. He's just staring at the silent head, slowly waking up more, and then he hears the tent zipper quickly zip up, and the head just disappears. Gone. He lies back for a second, still processing, then bam, moment of clarity, eyes snap open, full adrenaline dump.
You realize.
He realizes. He shoots up, listens hard, hears footsteps walking away, calls for Cody. Silence. He unzips his tent, scrambles out.
What does he see?
The campfire is dead, just embers. And Cody is not there reading.
Where is he?
He checks Cody's tent, unzips it, and finds Cody fast asleep inside his sleeping bag.
So Cody wasn't watching. And that wasn't Cody at his tent.
Exactly. The narrator says he got instant chills, goosebumps, almost shit myself at the realization. He calls it straight up from a nightmare. Someone was right there looking in at him while he slept.
The violation. The proximity. That's terrifying.
It's the ultimate breach of that flimsy tent sanctuary.
So what does he do? He wakes Cody up, right?
Yeah, shakes him awake, frantically tries to explain. Someone's here at the campsite. Cody's groggy, takes a minute, just like the narrator did. Then the horror hits him.
Grabs the bear spray.
Immediately. Cody admits he must have nodded off reading. Huge mistake, obviously. He tells the narrator, "Okay, sleep in my tent. Shared safety."
Good idea.
But first, the narrator needs his sleeping bag from his own tent. And getting it becomes this whole ordeal.
I bet. Going back out there.
Right. Cody comes out with him, stands guard with the spray while the narrator runs to his tent, and while he's inside, fumbling in the dark for the bag, he hears it again.
Don't say it.
That goddamn humming. He grabs the bag. Cody's whispering, "Hurry up." And as they scramble back to Cody's tent, the narrator asks, "You hear that too?"
And Cody did.
Cody confirms, yes. They both heard it. It wasn't imagined. They dive into Cody's tent, zip it tight, 2 cans of bear spray ready.
Just waiting. Listening to that humming.
And this is where the narrator has that thought, that dark, ironic thought.
What's that?
I wanted nothing more than for a bear to come and save the day.
Wow. Preferring a bear attack to whatever this is. That says everything.
It completely flips the fear hierarchy. The unknown human element is so much worse than the predictable wild animal.
So they just wait out the night.
Pretty much. The narrator stays awake watching while Cody sleeps for 3 long, horrible hours.
Yeah.
Then they switch. As soon as it's light enough to see, first hint of dawn,
They're out of there.
packed up faster than they ever thought possible. Didn't even think about the rest of the trip. Neither of us were feeling it anymore.
I wouldn't be either.
And the ending is really telling. The narrator says, "It's been 6 years." He's hit me up a few times since then about camping, but I haven't really had interest since this experience. People are just too scary.
That's a permanent scar. Changed his whole relationship with nature, with camping.
Absolutely. It underscores the unpredictable, truly terrifying nature of encountering malice where you expect peace. The wilderness wasn't the threat. The human element was.
Okay, wow. Let's shift gears from the deep woods to the beach.
Yeah, our next story takes us to a seemingly perfect coastal escape, but the invasion is just as chilling. The beach house stalker. Privacy invaded.
So what's the setup here?
4 friends rent a beach house in Florida. Described as modest, but the key is the location. It's directly on the beach, like the backyard is the sand.
Okay, prime location. Sounds amazing.
Totally. The narrator emphasizes this. Unloading the car, no traffic, reinforcing that isolated feel. The deck has an amazing view, and it's literally 2 steps down and onto the sand.
Creating that sense of a private paradise. Your own slice of beach.
Exactly. They get settled. Narrator grabs the room with the beach view window. The first day is perfect. Sunbathing, swimming, football on the sand, pure vacation mode.
Anyone else around?
They saw an older-looking couple way down the beach, but basically, they had it to themselves, reinforcing that feeling of seclusion and safety, which, of course,
Is about to be shattered.
you got it. Things feel fine until that night. They go out, have some drinks, Uber back. They're a bit drunk, feeling good, decide to play more football on the beach under the moonlight.
Sounds fun. If a little risky, maybe.
Yeah, and as the narrator runs for the ball, he sees something weird out in the water.
What is it?
He sees a person standing in the water about waist deep, just standing there in the moonlight.
Okay, that's a little odd. Late for a swim.
Right. His friends see it too, but they rationalize it. Narrator says it was only a little weird because of the time, like past midnight, but hey, if a local wants to go for a midnight swim, that's their business.
Trying to normalize it. Kept the
Yeah.
vacation vibe going.
Exactly, that human tendency. But the seed of unease is planted. Later, they're sitting on the deck having beers, and the narrator keeps glancing back towards the water.
Can't shake the feeling.
Nope. And then he sees it again. But this time, it's different. It's worse.
How?
Someone's standing on the beach, facing us.
Whoa, okay. Not in the water anymore. On the beach and facing them.
Big escalation.
Yeah.
It goes from potentially innocent bystander to direct, focused attention. Super creepy.
What do they do?
The narrator, maybe a bit buzzed, yells out, "Is everything okay?"
Yeah.
His friend John is like, "Why'd you do that?"
And does the person respond?
Nothing. No wave, no shout back, just silence.
Yeah.
John points out after a bit, they're still just standing there facing us.
That stillness, that lack of reaction, that's unnerving.
Totally. It feels intentional, creepy. The mood is ruined. We were officially creeped out, so we went inside. The safe haven is starting to feel porous.
Yeah, the outside is creeping in. So they go inside, lock the doors.
Presumably. But the real peak of the creepiness is yet to come. The narrator goes to his room, the one with the beach view window. He looks out, expecting the ocean,
Hey.
and there was now someone standing in front of the back deck facing the house.
On their property, right by the house.
Yes. And the narrator gets this chilling feeling. I felt like they were facing my window, directly at him.
So this isn't random anymore. This feels targeted.
Absolutely. He thinks the figure looks male, slightly larger frame, and he's sure it's undoubtedly the same person from before.
What does he do? Scream.
He yells for John, no answer, so he runs and bangs on John's door, gets him to come look.
Yeah.
But by the time they get back to the window,
Gone.
vanished. Classic stalker move. Creates doubt, ramps up the fear, makes you question yourself. But John believes him. Still, they don't go outside, too scared.
I wouldn't either. So they try to sleep.
Yeah, the narrator's lying awake, obviously freaked out, mind racing. And then he hears it.
Oh no. What?
The sickening sound of a fist knocking on the bedroom window.
On the window. Someone is right there.
Right outside his window, knocking. He says his insides just shriveled up.
Yeah.
Pure, paralyzing terror. The ultimate violation of his private space.
Was it just once?
Nope. A few moments later, another light set of knocks on the glass. Persistent. Deliberate.
Did he lift the blind?
He says he didn't dare lift the blind, though I couldn't gather the courage to. He almost yelled out, "Who is it?" But stopped himself. Just frozen in fear.
Smart move, probably. Not engaging. But terrifying.
Utterly. Finally, he can't take it. Runs screaming into the living room, wakes everyone up. They check everything. Window, deck, front, sides.
Nothing.
Nobody there. Gone again. Like smoke.
Leaving them terrified and confused.
Exactly. They ended up leaving the backyard lights on all night. A small defense, but mostly just a sign of how scared they were.
Did anything else happen?
Not that night. But the next day, John and the narrator decided to ask the nearest neighbors if they'd seen anything strange.
Good idea. Any luck?
Chillingly, yes. One neighbor told them about a genuinely freaky encounter a week earlier. Someone knocking on their front door in the middle of the night.
Same memo.
Sounds like it. They asked, "Who is it?" Got no answer, just more knocking. They didn't open the door either.
So it wasn't just them. This person, or people, had been doing this before.
That's the implication. The narrator says, "I'm not sure if it was connected, but if it was, that just makes this even scarier. It suggests a pattern. Targeted harassment, maybe."
Makes it feel less random, more calculated.
Precisely. Turns it from a one-off creep into potentially something more organized, more dangerous. They left the next day, vacation totally ruined.
And the narrator's left with that haunting question.
Yeah. I still wonder what I would have seen if I had lifted the blind. That unknown, that potential horror just inches away. It stays with you.
It really does. And it shows how even in a house with neighbors nearby, that feeling of safety can just evaporate when someone targets you like that.
Absolutely. The physical structure doesn't matter as much as the intent behind the threat. And the unknown intent is often the most terrifying part.
Okay, from the beach house to home. This next one, the Home Alone horror call, Betrayal of Trust, might be the most disturbing. It involves a child.
Yeah, this one hits differently. The narrator is just 9 years old. He's home alone, but only for a short time while his mom runs to the grocery store.
Still, 9 is young to be alone. Vulnerable.
Extremely. And he mentions the strict rules, wasn't allowed to answer the door to anyone. But he felt safe enough, you know? He was just playing Metroid Prime on my GameCube, lost in his own world.
A normal kid moment. Which makes what happens next even worse.
It starts with the phone. The old landline rings. He looks at the caller ID. It's his mom's cell number.
Okay, so he answers it right. Mom said to.
Right. He follows the rule, picks up, and a voice that sounds like his mom says, "Sweetie, can you come outside and help with the groceries?"
Sounds normal enough.
But the narrator, even at 9, has incredible intuition. He says, something sounded off with her voice. He just knew. He asks, "Why do you sound like that?"
Good question. What did the voice say?
It just doubles down. Like, "What, sweetie?" And that repeated "sweetie," that's the clincher.
Why?
He says, "My mom would never use the word sweetie like that, especially twice in a matter of seconds." He just knew it was wrong. He hangs up immediately.
Wow. Smart kid. Trusting his gut.
Absolutely crucial. The phone rings again, same number. He ignores it this time. Heart pounding. Then it rings a third time. Different number. Unknown.
Does he answer?
He does. Maybe curiosity, maybe hope it's his real mom trying another way, but it's not.
Who is it?
A man's voice on the other end said, "Hey, James, I know it's going to sound weird, but it's your dad. I'm outside."
His dad. But wait.
Exactly. The narrator's actual father died when he was 3. He has no memory of him. This is a blatant, incredibly cruel lie.
That's beyond messed up, using that.
Depraved is the word. The man continues, "I'm outside. I have a lot to explain." Trying to leverage that childhood longing, that mystery, to lure him outside.
So the first call wasn't his mom, and this call is someone pretending to be his dead dad. He realizes he's in serious trouble.
Totally. My suspicion was in fact true, that the first voice I heard was not my mom's. And the worst part, he can't call his real mom for help because someone clearly had her phone. They've isolated him.
Cut off his lifeline.
Yeah.
That's terrifyingly calculated.
And then it escalates from the phone to the door. He hears knocks. Loud knocks on the front door.
Not his mom, obviously. She has a key.
Right. He knows that instantly. He peeks around the kitchen wall, sees the front door, and hears a man's muffled voice on the other side saying my name, saying it's your dad.
Still pushing that lie right at the door.
Yeah. Then the doorbell rings. Then he hears the doorknob rattling. Someone is actively trying to get in.
Okay, this is nightmare fuel. A 9-year-old facing this.
It's unimaginable. The violation of the home, the place you're supposed to be safest, and the specific personal nature of the attack, using his name, the dead father lie. It's chillingly intimate.
What does he do, this little kid?
He does something incredibly brave. He grabs the phone or landline and calls 911.
Thank goodness. Presence of mind under that pressure. Amazing.
Truly heroic. The 911 operator tells him to hide, lock himself in a bathroom or closet. He goes into the first floor bathroom, locks the door, turns off the light, and just waits, listening.
What does he hear?
He hears them try the window of the bathroom he's in. Tried pulling it open, I heard their entire struggle, then they move on. He thinks they tried every window and door in the house.
Testing every single entry point. Oh my God.
The narrator realizes, with absolute clarity, if anything were to have been unlocked, this story would have had a very different outcome.
Well, look, a locked window, a locked door saved him.
Seems like it. And he realizes, too, it wasn't just the man. The first voice sounded female. Clearly, there were two people involved in this, a man and a woman. He refers to them as they.
A team effort. Makes it even creepier.
He stays hidden, terrified, until the operator tells him the police are there, it's safe. He comes out, police investigate. Then his mom gets home, sees the police cars. Panic.
I can only imagine her fear finding that scene.
Yeah. And they confirm her phone was stolen. The whole thing clicks into place.
But the motive? Why target him? How did they know so much?
The narrator figures it out later. Her phone probably had their address, home number, easily accessible, and maybe he thinks the background photo was her with him and his siblings.
No, they could see she was a mom, maybe a single mom.
Possibly. A disgusting, creepy couple, as he calls them, could deduce she was a single mom with two young kids and cook up this horrific plan to trick me into leaving the house.
Using the stolen phone, the personal info, the picture, it's predatory planning at its worst.
Absolutely vile. The phone, probably an old burner, was likely destroyed right after. No evidence left.
And the impact on him, on the family.
Lasting. He says, things were a little different after this. My mom wouldn't leave me alone anymore at night, not until I was a few years older at least. That trust, that sense of security in their own home was shattered.
Understandably. How could it not be?
It's just a horrifying example of how vulnerable we can be, how easily personal information can be weaponized, and the truly awful lengths some people will go to exploit that vulnerability, especially a child's.
It really ties back to Cody's line from the first story, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
The real thing you got to worry about is other people.
Across all three settings, the woods, the beach house, your own home, the terror wasn't supernatural, it was human.
Precisely. No ghosts, no monsters in the traditional sense. The horror comes directly from unseen, unknown, malicious human intent. And that feels closer. More possible, more fundamentally unsettling because it's grounded in the real world and the potential darkness within our own species.
And that theme of the violated sanctuary is so strong in all of them.
Huge theme. That campsite, chosen for isolation, becomes a stage for terror. That beach house, meant for escape, becomes a target. And that childhood home, the ultimate safe space, becomes the site of an attempted abduction based on stolen trust.
When those places are breached, it's more than just fear, isn't it? It feels like a deeper wound.
It is. It's a psychological wound. It erodes your fundamental trust in the world and safety and the predictability of spaces you thought were secure. It leaves scars, like the camper who can't camp anymore.
Or the beachgoer wondering about the face behind the blind.
Or the child whose mother couldn't leave him alone. These aren't just bad nights. They're life-altering events that change your perception of safety forever. That lingering vulnerability, that's the real horror.
And the fact that we never know who these people were or why they did it, that just ramps up the fear, doesn't it?
Massively. The power of the unidentified. The humming man, the figure on the beach, the voices on the phone. They remain faceless, motiveless threats.
Why is that scarier than knowing?
Because our brains hate ambiguity, especially when it comes to threats. We want answers, reasons. When there are none, our minds fill the void with the worst possibilities. The unknown allows fear to metastasize, to become limitless. It's the ultimate psychological manipulation terror without explanation.
So reflecting on all this, what should listeners take away, beyond just being thoroughly creeped out?
Well, first, acknowledge the reality of the lingering effects. These stories show real trauma, the changed behaviors, the lasting fear. It's significant.
Right, these aren't just jump scares in a movie.
Exactly. And while these are extreme examples, they are potent reminders about situational awareness, about trusting your gut. That narrator, hearing his mom's voice, his gut screamed, "Wrong," and he listened.
That intuition is key.
Crucial. And it highlights the importance of security basics, locking doors and windows, being mindful of what personal info is easily accessible, not living in fear, but living with awareness, recognizing red flags.
Because the biggest takeaway seems to be that the most frightening things aren't always otherworldly.
Often, they're disturbingly human. The dark potential that exists in other people, sometimes lurking just where you least expect it, that's the true horror these stories tap into.
It's chilling because it's real, or at least presented as real, tapping into plausible fears. The horror isn't fantasy, it's the potential for malice in the everyday.
And that forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about safety and trust. These stories show how fragile our sense of security really is, how easily it can be shattered by others. Which leads to a final thought to maybe leave people with.
Okay, what's that?
In a world where these kinds of threats can seemingly pop up anywhere, deep woods, vacation spot, your own locked house, what does safety truly mean anymore? And what are we, individually and collectively, willing to do or perhaps sacrifice to feel secure?
That's a heavy question. A lot to think about. Thank you for joining us on this unsettling deep dive.
Thanks for having me. Stay safe out there.
Definitely. We hope you'll take these insights, reflect on them, and maybe just be a little more aware of the quiet spaces and sometimes the not so quiet threats around you.